Pokemon?
My favourite Ultra Beast might not be the one you would expect. It's not Buzzwole, it's not Celesteela, and it's not even Kartana. It's Xurkitree. While all of the other Ultra Beasts have mesmerizingly creative and unusual designs, Xurkitree takes the whole damn cake and then some. No other beast ignites the spark that this one does in my head, for many reasons. He might be the weirdest Pokemon ever designed. He is a creature made up entirely of wiring and circuits, and also happens to be shaped like a tree, hence the name. He even strikes a resemblance to old Guzma here. Oh, and he is 13 feet tall? If the design somehow does nothing for you, then Xurkitree packs one hell of a punch in battle. His base special attack stat is 173, the highest of all electric types, meaning he can break down almost all defensive walls. He can even learn Tail Glow. Overkill. I'm so glad Ultra Beasts are back in Crown Tundra. You bet I'll be using Xurkitree.
Who's that Pokemon?
At number 9 we have one of the most popular Pokemon of all time, Greninja. Yeah, everyone and their pet dog at least respects Greninja, myself included. Before I had even seen its evolutions, Froakie was a lock-in for my Kalos team. Something about his design just screamed at me to use it, and used it I did, and it was the head honcho of my team the whole time. First of all, its design. Yeah, a blue water frog doesn't sound very interesting, but then making it a ninja who uses its tongue as a scarf? Genius! In battle, Greninja is a real threat, especially with its hidden ability, Protean, which changes its typing to the type of the last move it used. Being a ninja, it obviously has a very high speed stat, but it also has really good special attack and physical attack, so it's a mixed sweeper. With a Life Orb, it's strong and requires the opponent to think and stay on their toes. Greninja also happens to be a secondary main of mine in Smash 2. Isn't it funny how that happens? Greninja also has a signature move called Water Shuriken. I don't have much to say about it, since I'd rather use Hydro Pump, but what a badass move idea. Ash Greninja is something else I've barely touched because I don't really think Greninja needed a power boost, but overall I can see why Greninja is a fan favorite.
Who's that Pokemon?
Hailing from the vacuum of space and the personification of DNA, it's Deoxys. This Pokemon has so many ways to use it thanks to its many forms. Defense form allows Deoxys to become a staller/wall. Neutral form is well balanced but doesn't really specialize in anything really. Attack form is strong as heck, but with little defense, and speed form is the fastest ever Pokemon not counting Sandrush Excadrill, and it hasn't got much muscle. And if you take the first letter of each of these forms and align them, it spells DNAs. That is because Deoxys is based on DNA, as well as aliens, since it comes from space and it landed on Earth via a meteorite. Deoxys even had its own movie, and while I don't like it that much, its battle with Rayquaza was epic. I just love his design so much, it's so good. Everything about this Pokemon captures what it's trying to do. It did what Ultra Beasts did 4 generations before Ultra Beasts.
Who's that Pokemon?
The signature Pokemon of Cynthia, the champion of the Sinnoh region, as well as my favorite pseudo-legendary, Garchomp, the land shark Pokemon. It's a land shark covered in spikes mixed with the jet plane. What more can I say? Well, Garchomp, as you can imagine, has a very high attack stat, and a nimble speed stat. This Pokemon was actually banned from many tournaments back in the day, until fairy types put it in its place, but that's irrelevant. Swords Dance and Outrage was all you needed for Garchomp to take out everything. Everything else was just a bonus. Defensive walls would literally crumble against Garchomp. If someone was using a Steel type, you can teach it Earthquake to take it out, or Fire Fang if it had Levitate. Giving it a Lumberry would cure the Outrage confusion, or you can give it a Choice Scarf or Life Orb to boost the power of Outrage. Admittedly, its Mega Evolution is kind of underwhelming. Adding a few extra spikes does not suffice for a Mega. But I still adore this Pokemon and will continue to use it when available.
Who's that Pokemon?
This Pokemon entered my top 10 in a matter of months. A lot of these Pokemon in my top 10 came from years of memories. Not this one. Love at first sight is real. Enter Zacian. That's right, the mascot of Pokemon Sword is number 6. Let's begin with the origin. Zacian may be based on King Arthur's sword, Excalibur. Its role as a warrior aiding a king may take inspirations of the Knights of the Round Table. In addition, Zacian's feminine nature may be a reference to the Lady of the Lake, the person responsible for giving King Arthur his sword. And its relationship with Zamazenta, the shield legendary, may allude to the relationship between King Arthur and his sister Morgan Le Fay. It otherwise resembles a wolf, an animal once native to Great Britain and an important heraldic symbol for noble families in the Middle Ages. Its long hanging blue fur resembles a caparison, a cloth covering usually worn by warhorses during the Middle Ages. This Pokemon is British as heck. Take one look at its base attack stat and that speed, you could probably realize this Pokemon is the ultimate sweeper if it's holding the rusted sword. It can even learn Sword Stance if you want to boost that attack even further. It's not like this thing has many weaknesses either. I nicknamed mine Zoro. I had to. I can't wait to see what the future holds for this guy.
Who's that Pokemon?
What a great way to start the top 5, being my favorite psychic type and my favorite non-mythical legendary Pokemon. It's Lugia. It's so close to being perfect for me. Known as the Guardian of the Sea, as well as the leader of the Kanto bird trio, Lugia also stars in my favorite Pokemon movie, The Power of One. In this film, Moltres, Zapdos and Articuno are fighting over the territory, thanks to this cockhead who plans on capturing the trio as well as Lugia, who is summoned by this squabbling. Lugia, Ash and even Team Rocket now team up to stop the fighting and defeat this cockhead. This film also birthed the single most beautiful song in Pokemon, which you are listening to right now. In the games, Lugia can fit into almost any team, since it is bulky but also strong, with both attack and special attack being base 90, which is enough to get the job done. Also, despite being the Guardian of the Sea, Lugia is not a water type, but instead a psychic and flying type. I like that. There is also Shadow Lugia, that's the thing. I've not played Gale of Darkness, but I beg Game Freak to include Shadow Lugia in the main series. Please. All in all, get a Lugia.
Who's that Pokemon?
This little guy fits many criteria to be my favorite. Cute, interesting origin, and even slightly disturbing. Mimikyu is among one of the most interesting designs Game Freak has ever put out. It brings out many emotions for those who encounter it, making it one of the most compelling ghost types ever created. Mimikyu, as you can tell, looks awfully like Pikachu. Mimikyu disguises itself as Pikachu, in a desperate attempt for love and attention from anyone. This jealousy of Pikachu eventually evolved into hatred. It makes sense. Everyone loves Pikachu, why can't Mimikyu get the same treatment? It's not fair. I feel pity for the guy, but also curiosity. What's under that cloth anyway? But I know I won't be looking. It is said that anyone who has seen Mimikyu's real form died of shock. Yeesh. One thing is for sure though, Mimikyu definitely does not fight like a Pikachu. It is the only Pokemon with the ability Disguise, which allows it to tank any attack thrown at it, and take absolutely no damage. Until it was slightly nerfed, meaning Mimikyu gets a guaranteed free turn. This free turn can be used for anything, setting up Sword Stance or even going all out with a Z move. Can Pikachu do any of that? Of course not. All I want to know is how the hell does nobody love this guy in the Pokemon world? Heartless.
Who's that Pokemon?
Here we have my favorite ghost type, the haunting and menacing spirit of Lavender Town, Gengar. As you have probably gathered, Ghost is one of my favorite types, and Gengar is the definitive ghost type without a doubt. Before I gush over its design and personality, its stats, Gengar makes for an excellent special sweeper with its max speed being around 350, making for one of the fastest ghost types. Of course its main focus is special attack, which is just under 400 maximum. Not too shabby. Ghost Poison is also a very unique type combination, and despite being crippled by Psychic, I still love it. Concept time. Gengar is obviously a ghost, but in particular a poltergeist. Gengar haunts humans for fun. Very mischievous. I like that a lot. I grew up with Pokemon Platinum, and everyone who has played Gen 4 knows about that NPC who trades a Haunter holding an Everstone for a Medicham. This was my first instance of getting trolled, but eventually I did trade that Haunter and it evolved into Gengar, which I proceeded to use for the rest of my journey, and I even took out the champion with it. I actually still have that Gengar somewhere. Also in the anime, it was one of my favourites. Of course I'm referring to this Gengar. And Ash recently caught a Gengar of his own. I squealed when I first saw that, I'm not gonna lie. In short, Gengar has always been one of my favourites, and that is never going to change.
Who's that Pokemon?
Blaziken was so loved in Generation 3 that they thought to go and do it again, and better. Well, they did, because here we have Infernape. Infernape is what happens when you get a Blaziken and focus on speed and attack. It is a sweeper in the purest sense of the term. You have to be careful when facing off against Infernape, as it can learn close combat, earthquake, and the elemental punches, and way more. Infernape was my starter of choice in my first ever Pokemon game, but there is way more to this than nostalgia. Infernape is based on Sun Wukong, the main character from the classic Chinese story Journey to the West, which also means Infernape is the closest we have to Goku in Pokemon, since they share similar origins. Also, his design is fantastic. The flames erupting from his head, the color choices, and those yellow swirls. Perfection. Infernape also shined in the anime. The story of Ash's Chimchar wanting revenge on the trainer that abandoned it, and the implementation of Blaze all led to many spectacular battles that left my jaw dropped. You've all probably heard how great Infernape is, so I won't bore you. And with that, we only have one more.
Who's that Pokemon?
And here we have my favorite Pokemon of all time. In order for a Pokemon to be number one, I have to like literally everything about it. In the games, anime, spin-off, and overall design, more so than any other Pokemon. Well, who can it be? None other than Darkrai. Darkrai is and always will be my favorite Pokemon ever. Sinnoh's own pitch black Nightmare Reaper is perfect for me. But why? Let's start with his concept. Darkrai is a shadowy, Grim Reaper-like being capable of creating nightmares for any living being awake or asleep with its signature move, Dark Void. In battle, Darkrai is a beast. He has great stats with special attack rivaling Mewtwo, and it is faster than Weavile. He has a move pool that is very similar to Mewtwo as well, but specializes in Dark-type moves. He is the only Pokemon with the ability Bad Dreams, which causes gradual damage to any sleeping foes. But all of that only scratches the surface of why I love him. Ever since I watched his movie as a kid, I fell in love with everything to do with this Pokemon. In The Rise of Darkrai, he was seen as an evil being to all of the citizens of Alamos Town, despite Darkrai meaning absolutely no harm to anyone. Then we see his flashback when Darkrai was found injured in the back garden of Alice's home. Alice decided to help Darkrai, and she was the first person to show him any kind of love. Years later, Darkrai lived in the same town and was still seen as a threat to everyone. When Dialga and Palkia battled in the town, everything began to crumble apart as space and time was slowly wearing away. Fearing that he would lose his only friend, Darkrai sacrifices himself to save everyone. He attempted to stop both Dialga and Palkia and even took both Roar of Time and Spatial Rend at the same time. Darkrai's body gets disintegrated before our very eyes. That showed me, even as a kid, how deep of a character Darkrai was and is. That is why he's my favorite, as corny as it sounds.